And also in this edition of the news, Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy has warned that electricity fraud is costing the nation heavily and endangering lives. Citizens are being urged to reject illegal practices that weakens the power sector. These are the stories that will lead us on the 6:30 p.m. newscast. We develop this and more in a moment. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on the latest edition of the news. My name is Fabrice Kedinga and the news begins right now. Electricity fraud is costing the nation heavily and endangering lives, prompting strong denunciation from authorities who are urging citizens to reject illegal practices that weakens the power sector. Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy was speaking recently during a sensitization video or a sensitization interview in his office. Let's have details with Micheline Biloa.
Government officials have raised alarm over the growing phenomenon of electricity fraud, describing it as a serious economic and safety threat. Illegal connections, meter tampering, and power diversion continue to cause significant financial losses, disrupt service delivery, and damage critical infrastructure. Authorities warn that beyond revenue shortfalls, fraudulent installations expose entire communities to dangers such as electrocution, electrical fires, and repeated outages. Law-abiding consumers often bear the consequences through unstable supply and increased operational cost. In a message aimed at reinforcing public awareness, the Minister of Water and Energy stressed the importance of responsible behavior.
We want all consumers to be aware of the negative impact of electricity fraud in order for those who are guilty to put themselves in order and get regular connections. We have ordered prepaid meters to enable those who do not have, get them, particularly those who already have a connection. We are beginning with sensitization. The idea is to make sure that everyone knows what to do to be a regular electricity use and so respect the rules.
Combating electricity fraud requires both enforcement and public cooperation, emphasizing that sustainable access to power depends on discipline, transparency, and shared responsibility. As denunciations intensify, authorities hope renewed awareness will help curb illegal practices and safeguard a more reliable electricity supply for all.
And as you heard in our top stories, Cameroon's Ministry of Secondary Education, under the watchful eyes of Professor Nalova Lyonga, has issued a stern warning to some 3,442 staff members who spent time abroad in recent years but continue receiving salaries without working. The minister have instructed them to report within 2 weeks with full administrative proofs or risk being removed from the state payroll. Details with Jackie Yebele.
A major administrative shake-up is unfolding within Cameroon's secondary education sector. The Ministry of Secondary Education of Cameroon has ordered 3,442 staff members to justify their administrative status. In a statement released on February 23, 2026, the Minister of Secondary Education, Nalova Lyonga, announced that the personnel concerned, identified as having stayed abroad in recent years, have 14 days to report to Office 507 at the Ministry headquarters. They are required to present all supporting documents confirming their current administrative position. At the heart of the decision is the government's ongoing effort to sanitize the state payroll system. In recent years, Cameroonian authorities have intensified audits aimed at identifying irregular administrative situations, including prolonged unauthorized absences, undeclared stays abroad, and inconsistencies in employment records. The state's objective is twofold: ensure transparency in human resource management, control the state's wage bill. According to administrative sources, some staff members may have left the country for training, personal reasons, or relocation without properly regularizing the status within the civil service. The ministry statement is explicit. Failure to comply within the 14-day deadline could result in removal from the state's payroll. Such a measure would immediately suspend salary payments and could significantly affect the individual's career within the public service. Observers note that this move aligns with broader public sector reforms aimed at eliminating so-called ghost workers and tightening administrative oversight. The decision also raises concerns about its impact on the secondary education system. Cameroon already faces teacher shortages in several regions. Question remains, how many of the 3,442 staff members are currently active? How many are in irregular situations? What safeguards will be in place for those whose status is legitimately but administratively delayed? Teachers' unions are expected to seek clarification to ensure that duly authorized staff are not unfairly penalized. The coming 14 days will be crucial. This operation could provide the ministry with a clearer picture of its actual workforce and strengthen administrative governance within the education sector. One thing is certain, this decision marks a significant step in Cameroon's broader effort to reform and streamline its public service system.
Jackie, you stay with us because you say after months of water shortages in parts of Yaoundé, the sound of running taps is signaling long-awaited relief. During an inspection tour to verify effective restoration of supply, Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Elundu Esamba, yesterday visited key facilities operated by CamWater, confirming that water is once again flowing in several neighborhoods of the political capital.
The sound of running water is returning to parts of Yaoundé. During an inspection tour to verify the effective restoration of supply, the Cameroon's Minister of Water and Energy, Gaston Elundu Esamba, visited several sites to ensure that taps are flowing again. The minister inspected facilities operated by CamWater following the completion of works under the Pipe Peace project. He checked newly installed pipelines and distribution points to confirm the operational status of the infrastructure. At the Mendon Brigade, an operational water point was confirmed. The delegation also visited a public primary school in Simeon 2, where water is now available, improving hygiene and daily school operations.
You carry out many big projects. You mobilize a huge volume of funds to build many facilities. You have pipes. This big project which bring 300,000 cubic meters a day in Yaoundé city. But the problem is that everybody is not able to have this water because of the fact that the network is not able to bring this water to every household. And that is why last year the head of state decided to mobilize 10 billion CFA for this fast-track work. And today you have the first result. Etugebe is this area which did not receive water from pipes. But the work which has been completed today give opportunity to this population to receive this water.
The head teacher and the teacher expressed gratitude for the renewed supply.
We are so grateful. We are very happy that at last the problem of this school is being solved. For many years, this school has suffered a lot from lack of water. Now that water has come, we want to thank the Honorable Minister and the rest of the team that has come to give us water. The school is, the whole population is so enlightened. They are so happy. The water crisis was just the one that one cannot say. The children left from here to distant places to get water. And it was not easy because they had to carry containers. Children were falling even on the way because there was no water. But now that the water has come, there is joy in our hearts.
The government has allocated 10 billion CFA francs to the Ministry of Water and Energy to strengthen water provision. Speaking on behalf of residents, the mayor Yoki Onana thanks the government and CamWater for what he described as a major release for the population. The visit highlights ongoing efforts to improve access to clean water in the capital. With challenges in urban water distribution remains, the minister's inspection tour signals a renewed push for accountability and service delivery.
Now, with less than a month to go before hosting the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization, Cameroon has stepped up preparations, convening a very high-level national workshop in Yaoundé. The workshop opened yesterday, February 23, to define its negotiating position ahead of the decisive global trade meeting. Details with Micheline Biloa.
The national consultation, held yesterday, February 23 in Yaoundé, brought together government experts, private sector representatives, civil society actors, and financial partners. The objective, to analyze the substance of upcoming multilateral trade negotiations and consolidate the current national position ahead of the 14th Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization. The workshop was chaired by Professor Brazil Miranda Mutu, Secretary General at the Ministry of Trade, representing the minister. Also present were representatives from the Prime Minister's Office and the Economic and Monetary Community of Central Africa Commission. Opening discussions, Professor Mutu delivered a firm message. Failure, she said, is not an option. Hosting the WTO's highest decision-making body in Yaoundé is more than a diplomatic honor. It is a historic opportunity for Cameroon and for Africa to influence global trade rules and advance development interests. Participants examined key issues expected to dominate negotiations, including agriculture, food security, investment facilitation for development, electronic commerce, fisheries subsidies, trade and environment, as well as institutional reform of the WTO. On the last point, officials emphasized the need for a reform organization that gives developing countries a stronger voice and fairer access to global trade benefits. The conclusions of the Yaoundé workshop will feed into the African Group Preparatory Meeting scheduled in Maputo, Mozambique, as Cameroon seeks to help shape a unified continental position. As the countdown to the ministerial conference continues, authorities say their ambition is clear: to turn the Yaoundé meeting into a strategic milestone for Africa's economic transformation.
Let's talk about the 2026 edition of the International Women's Day to be celebrated on March the 8th. Women across Cameroon have been gearing up ahead of that important day, but they are facing a significant challenge, and that challenge is being explained by Jackie Nyebele in the upcoming report.
As International Women's Day approaches on March 8, anticipation among Cameroonian women to celebrate with the traditional commemorative loincloth is met with disappointment. A field visit to Laking, the company responsible for producing Women's Day fabric, reveals that the stock has completely run out. Crowds of women gathered outside the company's premises hoping to purchase the loincloth, only to leave empty-handed. Their reactions hang from frustration to dismay as they sought explanations for the shortage. Many expressed concern about missing out on the chance to wear the fabric during parades and celebrations, which are central to the annual festivities. On the sidewalks surrounding the company, vendors have begun selling the fabric at inflated prices: 16,500 CFA francs per piece, nearly double the original retail price at Laking. This situation has left many women questioning the accessibility and fairness of distribution. The key questions remain: why is the loincloth in such short supply this year, and will women be able to secure the symbolic garments in time to celebrate Women's Day? Authorities and producers have yet to provide clarification, leaving anticipation tinged with uncertainty. This shortage highlights the challenges in production and distribution of cultural materials in Cameroon, as well as the impacts of high demand on local communities who rely on these fabrics to participate in national celebrations.
Let's now talk public health on the news tonight. With tuberculosis continuing to claim young lives in Cameroon, health professionals are stepping up efforts to improve early detection and treatment of pediatric and drug-resistant tuberculosis through a specialized training workshop aimed at strengthening frontline response. Micheline Biloa with details.
Medical practitioners gathered for a high-level master class focused on improving the diagnosis and management of pediatric tuberculosis and multi-drug resistant TB, two major public health concerns affecting children across the country. The training placed particular emphasis on the unique challenges of treating children, especially those displaced and living in urban settings, where vulnerability to infection is higher and access to care remains limited. Participants review updated clinical approaches, shared field experiences, and discussed strategies to enhance screening, ensure early diagnosis, and improve treatment outcomes. Organized by the International Solidarity Fund in Cameroon in partnership with the National Tuberculosis Control Program and the Catholic Health Action Organization, the workshop also addressed barriers preventing vulnerable children from accessing timely medical care. Health experts note that pediatric tuberculosis remains a significant concern in Cameroon, with mortality estimated at nearly 10.8% among affected children. Organizers say strengthening the capacity of healthcare providers is critical to reversing this trend. By equipping professionals with updated knowledge and practical tools, stakeholders hope to improve survival rates and reinforce the national response against tuberculosis among children.
In the Lake division here in the central region of Cameroon, students of the bilingual high school of Monatele have received newly constructed 3-classroom block. The infrastructure has been donated by the development community of Lake to improve learning conditions and strengthen the educational environment. Jackie Nyebele reports.
The bilingual high school of Monatele has taken a significant step forward in improving its infrastructure. On February 21, 2026, the Rassemblement Fraternel pour le Développement de la Leke, RAFDEL, officially handed over a newly constructed 3-classroom block to the institution, reinforcing efforts to provide better learning conditions for students. The ceremony was presided over by Bombankolo Odile, divisional officer of the Monatele subdivision, representing the senior divisional officer of Leke. The event was attended by the regional delegates for decentralization of the Central region, traditional rulers and members of the association. The donation was made during RAFDEL's General Assembly Congress held in Monatele.